You guys want to get into a quick Dear Hazy B celebrating the Toronto-Montreal rivalry? I said yesterday we'd do an emergency one, or you want to save it?
No, I like this idea. I mean,
Sure.
We've got Dear Hazy B coming up at 6:30, but I think a little appetizer never hurt, right? It's like we're at a Boston Pizza right now. Just a couple appies early and the main dish coming up at 6:30. I love that idea.
Dear Hazy B, we have a group of 9 couples trip plus some stragglers heading to Montreal today for the Leafs-Habs game tomorrow. Mix of Habs and Leaf fans. Our Airbnb also happens to be located on the top of a little establishment called the Chez Paris.
Wow, you can rent a place.
Crazy coincidence. Dude, this is real stuff.
Okay, sorry, say that again. This is an Airbnb above Chez Paris. Is that what you just said?
There's condos
that
there.
is exactly what I just
trying
said.
to establish that. All right.
Followed by crazy coincidence. Do the gentlemen start their day early Saturday with brunch at the Chez, right into pregame drinks, dinner at McLean's Pub before getting to the game? Or do we do what the ladies might want to do, which might include sightseeing, old Montreal, shopping, etc.? Please advise Hazy B. Part 2. I was gifted 4 tickets from my dad for Christmas, and basically what this cat's trying to do is he's trying to put 4 of the ladies up top in the nosebleeds, and him and his mates wants to sit down below. So, Noodles, you can do the second part. Hazy, first thing with what do they do as far as the day?
First thing is you get out and see Montreal. All right, I'm sorry, the buffet at 10 a.m. with other people around, you don't need it. That's a nightcap after the game. You see where you're going.
Why can't you do a little bit of the both?
Well, I mean, listen,
we're going to walk around, do old Montreal, we'll do shopping, and then it's like we have a business meeting, and
that's possible. Like you leave a little bit of time for a quick pop in, right? Maybe it's your neighbors. I mean, if you weren't neighbors, but you want to be. You don't want to be.
I know
rude.
what you do. You wait till they get ready. You wait till they get ready because that's an affair, and you say we're meeting for beers, and that's when you do your thing.
I think if the couples are all friends, so if the girls are friends and the guys are friends, like there's no harm in like saying we'll see you in 2 hours. Like you guys do your thing, we'll do our thing. We'll meet back up here for a glass of wine, a drink here. You guys do some shopping. We're going to do some sightseeing, different types of sightseeing. We'll do whatever you want. Like I think there is a happy medium here. You can, if you want, you can go sightseeing with the ladies and shopping and stuff, or if you want to do your own thing as men and the women do their own thing. Like you see this all the time where couples trips. It's like, well, we're going to, some guys want to go to the casino. One couple wants to do something. It's like, okay, we're going to do our own thing.
You know damn well, Noodles, you can't turn it into a guy's trip. You can't morph a couple's trip.
That's why I'm saying don't do it during the day. Get out, see the city. It's an amazing place. McGill's a beautiful campus. Go check that out. A lot of different things you can do. There's a buzz in the city. Leafs Habs on a Saturday night. Get through the game, and as for the tickets, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you got to figure. I think you try to make that as equal and as possible. Maybe you draw straws. I don't know how you do that. Or it's not a bad idea with games. We're going to meet in the intermission, and then we're going to flip around. You take the seats for the second period.
Because once you bring that up, then whoever doesn't care about the game the most, they'll say, "Well, we're fine where we are."
Exactly. You throw it out there. Be a good guy. Say, why don't we all get a little taste of the lower bowl?
Then after the
2 or 3
period,
people.
You guys want to switcheroo? No, we're having a great time up there.
Here. Or we left already. Some people may be like, I'm out of here anyway. I'm not coming down there. So
there's probably a different level of commitment as well for the people in the group. The guys might be diehards, the women might not be, and vice versa. There might be a guy in there that's like, I can sit up top. I know when we went as a family, we had four seats. And me and my son sat up top for two periods, and then down in one. Like you move it around a little bit. It just depends on what really drives the group. I think you'll figure that out once you get there.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a big night, big game, tons of atmosphere. And someone wrote me in a tweet saying it was back in 2019 the last time there was a game of this significance between these two teams, Leafs Habs. And who was it? Peter tweeting and saying, February 9th, 2019, the Habs were 2 points behind Toronto in the standings. The atmosphere was electric at the Bell Center. Tavares scored in overtime that game.
There you go.
So there you have it. That's almost 6 years ago, man. We're into 2025 now, which
It's crazy.
Still throws me off. But, so we got a big one tomorrow, and I think everyone's going to have a good time if you're in Montreal. That's the way to put it. You got all those people. You're in a great neighborhood. Neighbors, top-notch. Can't beat it. Bell Center right down the street. Awesome spot. You mentioned earlier this afternoon that you think Montembeault will get the start for the Habs. Who do you think starts for the Leafs tomorrow, Noodles?
What?
Well, it's got to be Woll.
I would think so, but I didn't think he was great last night. I thought he should have played a couple games ago, and they decided to go with Hildeby because he needed the night off last Saturday.
He's getting back into that greasy goal routine, which I can't stand. That squeaker against Dallas, and then the Heischer power play goal. Yeah, the lane was open, but that guy doesn't exactly have a missile. Can't go in. So he's got to get away from that.
Yeah, that guy's got to get the hell out of the way. Who was that, Timmins? Block it or get the hell out of the way.
Understood.
Like that guy, I'm starting to be concerned about that third pairing. I don't like what I'm seeing.
Johnny was ice level. Let's see what he had to say about it.
Okay. Johnny, here's Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Let's get the formalities out of the way here. Johnny, your take on the way the Leafs played, I guess, as a whole last night.
It was sort of as they were playing the first kind of 45, 50 minutes where they're doing some good things, and I don't think they were not engaged or not trying, but it was a pretty quiet game. They didn't generate a whole lot. It was one of those games you're like, okay, it's going to be another sleepy, tight game, and they get down, and they probably can't get back in it. Every time they got a goal, Oliver Ekman-Larsson would take a penalty, and they'd get scored against, and then the momentum would switch, and so you wondered how it was going to play out because it might be just another frustrating game where they would say, well, look at the shot clock, and we did some good things, and we were really close, and it's okay, but they didn't win. And maybe the most satisfying part from the Toronto Maple Leafs last night was that when they needed to turn up some offense, I said it on air, like they have not been able to, when they needed it this year very often, make the game faster, make the game a little chaotic, make their game offensive. And I thought last night, for maybe the first time in a couple of months that I can remember doing games, when they needed to push, they were able to do it in a responsible manner. Like they turned up the heat the last 7 minutes when they were trailing, and it wasn't just the goal, but the shifts around it. And that was like the Leafs more of like last year. Remember how many times last year they'd pull the goalie, they'd find a way to score, they'd get one late in games. When they needed it, they could find it. And last night, when they needed it, they found it for one of the first times that I can remember. I think that, to me, is, on a team basis, the most positive part of the game is that, in a responsible manner, they were able to up the tempo and create chances offensively and eventually find a way to tie the game and win the game. Individually, of course, Auston Matthews, there's no denying he is looking sort of healthier and more Austin-like since his return. The goals, the points, the stats, they all back it up, but the eye test obviously goes with it. And William Nylander, who had gone through quite a rut, even though he jokes it's only 3 games, for him it was like 11 games with 1 goal, which is not enough for him. He was good as well. And when those two guys go, the offense looks a lot different. So all that stuff was good. There's some stuff to be concerned with. You guys mentioned the goaltending, Connor Timmins, third pair. Those are all legitimate concerns. But I think just the fact they're able to turn the tempo up when they needed it, when they haven't been able to do that, that's the good stuff.
So the Leafs have 36 games left, presuming health. Auston Matthews currently has 17 goals on the season. Let's say he plays the rest of the season, all 36, and he's healthy. What would be your goal total for the season for Matthews? He's at 17 as of now. How many do you think he tucks in the rest of the way?
Just the 45? Could he get 28 and 36? That's a monster number. But that, get the 45, 30, 28 and 36 is basically like a 60-goal pace, which is really, really high. But somewhere in that range, he won't get. I don't think he gets to 50, but certainly pushes 40. Somewhere in the 40 to 45 would be where he would go if he stays healthy and continues to be able to play at this level, whether Tavares is there or not. We've seen him do it when he's right. We've seen him do it with this set of line mates, and whether it's the same system or not, he can do it. So certainly into the 40s and maybe pushing, just above 40, 44 to 2, 44, 45, something there.
Okay.
Johnny, our crack producer, Doogie Howser, has just sent in a note saying Dennis Hildeby is the probable starter tomorrow. Can you explain that to me?
Explain it to all of us.
Well, last Saturday it was the same situation. They he didn't play great against Carolina, and Dennis Hildeby had to go in there and save the day, and I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Hildeby started tomorrow.
You don't think this is goofy too? Like,
there's
a day in between games. What are we doing here?
But they play Monday too, so there is a lot of games here. If you're going to give one game, you give Woll Tampa, and you give Montreal to Hildeby. That's probably the thought process. Am I wrong on that, Johnny?
No, you're probably right. I mean, he's got to play one of the two. Now, you don't want to do a disservice to Montreal, who's the hottest team in the NHL. Like, they're playing even better than Tampa right now. But he's got to take one off. I think Woll's numbers are much better when he gets rest, even though he hasn't been great. Almost his Stolarz has gone down. He just hasn't been as good. Oh, you said it. Leaky goals. Like, not bad goals, but not really good goals either. Some of them are bad, but the one that drifted through him on Tuesday nights for Dallas was for Stankoven's first goal, the Heischer wrister. Like that, I'm with you. You got to stop the puck, even though he was screened. You're right, Connor Timmins. He's in the wrong lane. He's got to be taken away the far post, not right in the middle of the net. But it's still one like I'm on the bench without knowing what's going on. Noodles, you know what it's like. You know what, you can feel it when you're in the net. You can hear it when on the bench. But when the bench expects a save, not that they're blaming him for a bad one, but you're like, or deflating that he didn't get that. And there's just been a few too many like that for Woll as of late. So they can't risk running to the ground. I know Stolarz is sort of back on the ice and will be coming back probably just after the Four Nations or maybe just before. But they still need to give him rest. He's not playing all the games, so pick your poison. Woll on Saturday night versus Montreal or Woll on Monday versus Tampa. Either one, you can make a case for it. He's got to, the other guy's got to play sometime. So might as well maybe just get him in and get Woll a little bit of a rest.
Mm. Well, I mean, listen, you mentioned it. Montreal's the hottest team in the league right now. Ottawa losing 1-0 in overtime last night, so they got themselves a point. Again, Columbus keeps winning, which is incredible. They've leapfrogged Boston. But if Montreal wins tomorrow night and, Columbus, Boston, Ottawa, no points, Montreal could be in the first wild card spot. Both of them are up for grabs now. It's not just them kind of chasing that second one, because Boston's been struggling. I know they've won a couple of games recently, but they played more games than anyone.
Ottawa plays Boston tomorrow, though, I think, don't they?
Ottawa plays. I don't know if they.
Yeah,
okay,
it's Ottawa-Boston tomorrow. So
points.
one of those teams are getting
Someone's
2
getting points tomorrow.
Yeah, but you're right. Montreal being right there is impressive.
They're in it.
Crazy.
Yeah, they're in it, and this is. I was asking these guys, Johnny, and without an answer, when was the last time we had a regular season game that felt as meaningful between these two teams, Toronto and Montreal, as the one that we're going to see tomorrow night? And someone wrote in February in 2019. I guess there were 2 points between the two, and Tavares scored in overtime. We're talking almost 6 years since a regular season game felt this meaningful.
It's going to be a lot of fun then, don't you think? You say that, and then, having been around the Canadiens, having been around the Leafs, that's a building you want to be in on Saturday night. How fun that will be, having those two teams be relevant. It's so good for both clubs, for the NHL, that Montreal has been able to surprisingly go on this kind of run. Noodles, I don't know what you know about this Jakub Dobiš, but what a difference he has made. You talk about the need for a backup goalie, and they seem to have found one there. They found a second line that could score all of a sudden with Kirby Dach, remembering that he's really good and starting to play a little bit in the line. He's scoring at 5-on-5. Lane Hutson, to me, right now is the rookie of the year, which I don't say lightly because I know Celebrini is a better player. But right now, this year, I think Lane Hutson
has to be.
I looked the other day, guys.
I
looked the other day. There's only been, not right in front of me, but it's he's on pace to be the 6th highest scoring rookie defenseman ever. Nick Lidstrom is 10th with 60 points. Hudson's on pace for about 73. I mean, he's ever. It's insane, the numbers he's putting up. And so you can say what you want about both sides of the game, sure, but the offense is there. His underlying numbers have been strong, 25 games in a row. He's playing big minutes on a team that's sort of overachieving and pushing for the playoffs. If it ended today, it would have to be him. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I give Marty St. Louis a lot of credit for kind of keeping with it and not keeping the team believing that they could do it. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Boston certainly is in the thick of the mud. They are in it with everyone else. Like, there's no doubt about it. I was just thinking, though, like, for the Leafs, they're out of it. They're in first place, but they're also only 10 up on Montreal, and they played 2 more games. In theory, Montreal wins Saturday. Montreal wins the games in hand. Montreal's 4 behind Toronto.
Right.
In possible points. It's just, it's with those teams charging and Toronto, doing okay, but not, losing a few in a row. The whole thing just got way tighter, and it's not just to Montreal. You think about Florida playing poorly, Hayes, and if Toronto somehow is able to have been a bit more consistent and picked up 3 points in those last 3 games or whatever it might have been. Also, they're like 6 or 7 points up on first, which would be a very comfortable place to have been right now.
Exactly. I said that yesterday.
Opportunity.
Exactly. Like, easier said than done, and I guess, of course, it could apply to the other teams too. But Florida has been very inconsistent. Tampa's been inconsistent. If the Leafs, you pot 3-4 extra points along the road, then you'd have breathing room on that top seat, something they never do outside of that Canadian bubble division, which was not real life, whatever it was.
It was, but it was weirdo, Phil.
It was, but it was just a strange season. The Leafs, they never win the division, ever. Like, never win the division. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
No, and I think this year, when you talk about, if you would. The benefits of finishing first, and careful what you wish for, because the Leafs have lost to Columbus and lost to Montreal. I get it. I don't want to hear it. But if you're asking anybody in the NHL, who would you rather play in a playoff series today? Tampa, Florida, or whoever's going to be there? Columbus, Boston, Ottawa, Montreal, Detroit, Philly, whoever, Rangers. Every single person would say, I think we'd rather play anyone but the teams in Florida. So that's what you're giving yourself the opportunity. I think that's not an insult. That's fact. And that's what they have as motivation in front of them.
Absolutely. Now, the flip side of that is, ask all those teams, who would you rather play, Toronto or Florida? They're all saying the Leafs.
Everybody says Toronto.
Exactly.
Yes.
They're all saying the Leafs.
And they deserve that. The Leafs deserve that reputation.
Of course they do.
For how they have performed in the past.
Yep, absolutely. Well, you see John Klingberg back in the NHL, signing with the Edmonton Oilers.
Dude, I'm sorry. Crazy. I hope it does well. I hope it works out. But if that's not desperation, the way that guy played with the Leafs, and he just had his hip resurfaced, and guys are dying to get Klingberg, like, there's how watered down the league is when teams are dying to get Klingberg, who can't even skate.
But that's the reason why he couldn't skate. He needed that resurface. Patrick Kane, it took him a long time to recover.
Okay, well, this guy ain't Patrick Kane. And Patrick Kane is the only guy that kind of came back from this and kind of played well.
Really. Not that many people have sort of gone down this road. I think, we are being sort of swayed by what we saw last year. And the guy we saw for Toronto was not good. But the guy who played in Dallas for a long time was really actually pretty good.
Johnny, look, I'm not trying to be negative with my comments. Like, the guy that played well in Dallas is 8 years ago.
He might be 4 years ago, but if he's been dealing with a hip for 3 years that he can't turn and pivot properly. And then there was also the idea, I think it was 3 years ago when they signed Heiskanen and they didn't sign him, and his feelings were hurt by that. And I think emotionally he played poorly. He went to Anaheim on a prove-it deal, and he didn't work, and he didn't get the good one the next summer. He kind of went through a couple of years where he lost the love, and then he lost his hip. And if he can find the option of either one of those things working, like, I know that I can see right now. I can see your mind working, because what you're thinking is, like, they got a better Klingberg already. His name's Bouchard, and, like, there's already some holes in his game. You don't want 2 of those guys that are awesome on the puck, but maybe not so great without it. But if you look at the right side of Edmonton, could you find a world in which John Klingberg can play in front of Troy Stecha?
Yes, and Johnny, my only point of my comment was, you would think in a normal NHL where everyone's NHL players that John Klingberg would have to crawl to a team and say, hey, do you want to take a shot on me? Now we're in a position where teams are excited for the opportunity to get a guy that couldn't skate, had his hip resurfaced, and they're like, "Can you play for us, please?" That's my point.
I see where you're coming, but that's the contract,
and that's free acquisition. You don't trade anyone for him. You don't have to give up anything to get him. Like, to get a guy, defenseman, who's sort of okay to play for a quality team, you're going to have to give up something off that team. It's a free acquisition, and if it doesn't work, guess what? To the minors you go. It's not even. It's nothing. Exactly. So it's nothing if it doesn't work. And part of the reason that Klingberg chose Edmonton is because, he's smart enough. He looks at their roster. He looks at their depth chart and says, I can play or outplay some of the guys that they have. Even though Edmonton's very good still, they needed an upgrade. And I don't think they're done. I think they're going to go chase a different upgrade. They'll see how Klingberg works. And if it works well, then maybe they let it go. But if it doesn't, they'll go get somebody else.
Yeah, sure. I agree. I think it's a nothing signing in the sense that it costs you $1 million, and if
like a college player,
it really is. If it works, great. If it doesn't, like you say, he plays for Bakersfield or he goes away. I think the reason why a lot of teams are in on him is exactly what Johnny said. This is a free guy. Like, you're not having to trade for him, and Max Pacioretty, for example, it took him a while to come back and get his body healed up. Guy looks all right. I think that's what teams are going. This is a start over contract for a guy who's a really good player, and can he find some sort of that semblance of what he used to be? I think that's what these teams were. I think, wouldn't Klingberg be an upgrade on Timmins if he could skate?
Klingberg is
what
moving
he looks
properly.
like, though.
It's such a wild card.
Yeah.
Klingberg certainly has been a massive upgrade on what Timmins has been in their careers, but Klingberg couldn't move last year. He pivoted a guy with bum hips. So if that has changed, then yes, of course, he would be able to be better than that guy. But I guess Edmonton has the time and the space to go find that out.
You mentioned Timmins, Johnny. I thought he was turning the corner, and now he's starting to scare the hell out of me. I almost think that Philip Myers might be bypassing him, where it'd be like Myers might be a go-to guy instead of him.
So first off, if you're going to work your way down, I think you got to start at the bottom. Before you get to Timmins, you get to Benoit. And Benoit, who didn't play last night, sort of understandably, if you look, for a defensive defenseman, you look at penalty kill numbers, and the penalty kill had been pretty good until the last couple of games, so give Benoit credit there. And then you look at sort of possession numbers, chances numbers, and those kind of things, because he doesn't get points, so how do you evaluate? Benoit has been really rough this year. His expected numbers, guys, are down in the 30s, which is 45 is bad, 55 is excellent, 37 is hard to even imagine on a good team. That's where he's been with everybody except for Jake McCabe last year. So Benoit was the right person to scratch. I think Ekman-Larsson on the third pair makes more sense. He was looking a little bit tired. So Myers, you're right, just the way he's playing and the way he's getting Morgan Rielly playing, I think that's sort of a pairing now. And now it's Ekman-Larsson and whoever on the third pair. And, Connor Timmins, what's interesting is that they have really liked his penalty killing this year. That's part of the reason why he keeps playing. He's never really been a penalty killer in the NHL. It's funny, right? He's an offensive guy. He's a puck-moving guy. That's what he.
Yeah, they just gave up a 2-piece each in the last 2 games. So.
Yeah. Well, I was sitting there before last night, going, what does Marshall Rafai or whoever have to do to get in the lineup? Because going into last night, somebody different had to play, and somebody had to come out of the lineup, and it was McCabe coming back in. Which, on a side note, you want to talk about the positive? That guy is such a good player.
He was so good last night.
And the two of them were so good last night between Tanev and McCabe. The two of them together available change the entire complexion of the back end and how it shakes out for Toronto. They are undoubtedly the number one pair now. Rielly's sort of a spot duty second guy with Myers, and Ekman-Larsson, I think, is best served Hayes on the third pair with somebody else.
Isn't that the elephant in the room, though, that Morgan Rielly's got to play closer to the McCabe-Tanev level than the Benoit-Timmins level? And he has not had a good year. He has not played well. When he's on the ice, you talk about expected goals and all that. He is a minus player right now. He's a guy that's given up a lot. He's right in the middle of a lot of breakdowns. He's not supplying a lot of offense. Like Morgan Rielly's just kind of in this no man's land right now. And that has to be rectified. And it's got to be on him. He's the longest standing Leaf, highest paid defenseman. You have Tanev and McCabe done. That pair is playing 23 minutes a night in the playoffs. Move them aside. There you go. Every key matchup, they're going to be on the ice. Morgan is probably not – he's not going to play with a stud, more than likely. He might spot duty sometime with Ekman-Larsson, but to your point, and I agree with it, because that's what happened in Florida last year, Ekman-Larsson was the third-pairing guy. I think that's where he was, and I think that's best suited for him. Whoever Morgan plays with, and they got to find a guy, again, it might be Myers, might not. Maybe they trade for someone. I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to. But Morgan Rielly's got to be way better. And to his credit, he has been in the playoffs. He's been a playoff performer in the past, so I have faith in that.
Yeah.
But they, realistically, you're probably looking at a big three and then a bottom three, and Rielly's got to push himself into that upper tier if they want to break through. Like Tanev and McCabe can't be on the ice all night. It's not going to happen.
No, so two parts to this. I know Morgan Rielly's getting crushed for his plus minus. At 5-on-5, he's 28 goals for, 33 against. So he's -5. He's not -15. A lot of that is empty netters and stuff that the other guys aren't on the ice for. So at 5-on-5, now having said that, every other guy who plays is a plus in the goals for at 5-on-5 versus goals against. So there's no doubt he's got to get better, but he's not quite as gruesome as his plus minus might look. But I think the bigger question, Hayes, is you're absolutely right. Like, that second pair has got to find traction. They got to be good. They got to find consistency. Can they? Like, are you asking something that Morgan Rielly can do now? Especially if you're thinking he needs to help carry a Philippe Myers, or do they have to go get a Luke Shen again, who seemed to pair randomly quite nicely? Like, is there another fit beyond Chris Tanev that could make him better? I'm not sure Mo, at this point, sort of offensively has that in him. Now, I guess what you're hoping for is, well, maybe the offense and stuff, the puck movement, the body movement helps mitigate some of the defensive shortcomings. But with at least not being a rush team anymore at all, they're one of the worst teams in the league off the rush to create offense. You're taking the one part of the offense, or the part of the offensive game that Morgan Rielly is best at, and by system, you are diminishing. And we can talk about Tavares thriving in Berube's system. I think that's true. Less rush chances, more cycle plays, more plays down in front of the net, things Tavares is good at. I think on the flip side, you could say, you look at Berube's system, it might be a system that actually hinders how effective Morgan Rielly can be, because some of the stuff that Rielly does best, they don't do as often anymore. And I don't think that's changing, even if Morgan Rielly has an uptick in his game.
Johnny, quickly before we get you out of here, JT Miller, we kind of think he's out the door. Where do you think he'll be playing next week?
I'm in Jersey right now, guys. I might have like cleared the flight path for Miller. I mean, my spidey senses, and I'm reading and hearing, Jersey is very interested. And Jersey, have you been reading the smoke that this Simon Nemec has been saying in the minors?
Yes.
Yeah.
Simon Nemec had like a 5-point game. He's like, how often does a 4th overall pick go to the minors 3 years? I'm not asking for a trade, but I might have to. When you throw that out there publicly, you're sort of asking for a trade or a call-up. You want a right shot, top flight potential defenseman. Like, is that the foundational pieces of a trade? I wonder, but Jersey's a team that I don't know if JT Miller would waive to come here, but I know they would want his talents and his energy.
What if Jimmy wanted Heischer back?
Get out of here. That's silliness.
They need a centerman back. What if they wanted Heischer back?
Then I'd say go call somebody else. You're crazy. Good luck. Good luck with your two guys sinking your team. Because Vancouver right now has got to do something, right? They're not playing great, and their season's slipping away. No, Heischer's better than JT Miller straight up, let alone some sort of trade. It is going to be Nemec and a prospect, or if you want to go to a forward, they need a centerman. I don't like throwing names out there, but Dawson Mercer. He plays on the wing right now, but could he play? He's been a 20-goal scorer. He's a young guy, got a good deal. Could he be an attractive option as a centerman going back the other way? I don't know, but if I had to guess, that's what I'm guessing.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's again, if you're Vancouver, you're trying to figure out though, like, are you bringing in futures? Are you bringing in a
What
guy
are we doing here?
Try to help you win right now?
This
Exactly.
year, yeah, you're probably trying to do both. They probably want another defenseman because everyone does, but they probably also have to replace a centerman. So could you get a 2-for-1 for JT Miller, or do you go one sort of quality player and then hope for the best for there? They're in a tough spot. Now, a spot of their own making, but they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, they sure are. All right. Well, keep your nose to the grindstone down there, man. We got a jersey. I love it. Insider Mike Johnson.
If I see JT Miller checking into my hotel, I'll let you know.
Yeah, please do. Make sure you go paparazzi the whole thing. Get an exclusive and send it to us.
I'll see what I can do. I'll be hiding behind the bushes in the lobby.
I love it. All right, man. Have a good weekend. We'll do it next week.
Have a good weekend.
Mike Johnson joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Count on Maple Toyota for the right winter tire package for your Toyota. Trade in your old tires, buy a new set, and get $40 back. Visit mapletoyota.com. All right. He's got JT Miller and Jersey connected. I don't see where the Rangers...
Oh, you connected them. Yeah, I
would still be interested. For me, I mean, if I'm the Rangers, I don't know. Like, is JT Miller going to spark you and get you back in? Possibly, but what do you have that you're willing to give up that Vancouver's willing to take? Would Boston kick tires on that?
They would have to, man. That might be their one direction out of where they are right now.
JT Miller, yeah, I mean, going back, like, the key is who's going back. That's the biggest challenge. And if you're trading him pennies on the dollar, then you're looking at it. But why would Vancouver trade him for pennies on the dollar? He's still a damn good player.
Exactly. You can't allow that to happen if you're Vancouver.
I think you got to get a really good player back. But if you're looking at young D-men, there are, like I say, Jersey, that Nemish or whatever his name is. Like, I didn't like those comments. I don't know. I don't like it when a young kid does that, but whatever. I mean,
he's kind of bent out of shape, right? He said how often, because he went second overall. He was a second overall pick.
Yeah, he was in the Shane Wright-Slavkovsky draft.
So what? So where you?
Oh, I'm just stating where he got drafted.
No, I understand. I'm not going back at you guys. I'm saying to him, so what? Him saying, well, I'm second overall. Does that give you 9 lives, or does that give you entitlement to be right into the lineup? Oh, you're second overall. We got to force feed him in there. You got to play better at the NHL level, and I think they've got a system there that they want to play. That's a pretty darn good team. That's not a rebuilding team.
That
Jersey
part
team's
of it.
Exactly. There's depth there.
Yeah.
You got a really good team there. So I don't know. Younger kids, they say what you want. It's your career, but somebody will pick them.
And on the right side, it's a bit of a logjam down in Jersey right now. So that's an issue as well. But yeah, if I was Vancouver, I mean, again, that's more of a long game, and he's not going to help you maybe right away. He'd probably play for you right away, but you're not going to get pure value for JT Miller. But you might just have to accept it at this point.
Yeah. Right.
You might just have to do it, or flip Pettersson. But I don't see how that's going to work.
That ain't happening, man.
Yeah.
No, it looks like Miller's the guy that wants out, just reading the tea leaves and body language. He's the guy that wants to go, and that's the guy that's going to have to go.
You want me to give you a vibe, Hazy, before commercial here, and give you an OT winner in Montreal by a Toronto Maple Leaf?
I love it.
Joe from the Bridge, let's see what you've got here, pal.
Okay, no audio.
No audio.
Who's that? Caber over to
Caberlet.
Caberlet.
Just
fakes
a pump
the shot.
Fake one-timer. Jose.
It's Jose.
Jose Theodore.
Yeah.
With ass face to the top, over to Caberlet, and it's just
under
water bottle time.
4-on-3, so you guys were on a power play there, I guess.
Yeah, 4-on-3, and Pat put me over the boards. I don't know how.
Tucker drew the penalty. I guarantee you Tucker drew a penalty with fake blood or something like that. You know how the Tucker
he might have. Wouldn't shock anybody.
Flying in the corner and drew the penalty and gave somebody the stinky glove, and then, you get that was a rocket.
Was that Matt Sundin in front of the net?
Dude,
what is he doing in his spot?
That's why, because I was like, I don't know where that guy goes, but I'm not going in front of the net. So I just went over there, and he went in front of the net. See, he won the draw, so I immediately went over to my little butter zone over there, and he stayed in front of the net. It would have been greasy if he skated over and said, get out of there.
You'd love to be able to read his mind if he looked over and said, is this guy serious taking that flank?
He probably did. Did.
That's the thing. If you rifle that thing 5 feet wide and it goes the other way,
then he says that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
don't ever do that again. But that's pretty good stuff, man. Bell Center on a Saturday night. OT winner. You can't beat that.
No.
That's what we're going to have tomorrow night. Leafs Habs tomorrow night. All right, we've got Luke Wilson coming up, Al's brother coming up, picks, and a full breakdown of this upcoming weekend in the NFL. 2 games tomorrow, 2 games on Sunday. Dear Hazy B in an hour. It's going to be a pretty cool 6 p.m. hour. We got to start picking winners. I can feel it. I know it's coming. It's just a matter of time at this point. All right, so we'll get to that and more still to come. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. Melanin Fridays brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This January at BP, get delicious, mouth-watering pastas starting at $11.99 every single day. Enjoy the pastas you love at prices you can't miss. Hustle in your local BP tonight. Raptors in action tonight. We got 4 big football games this weekend. Leafs Habs tomorrow. And Luke Wilson will join us in 20. Al's brother coming up. Al's brother and I are on the same page, feeling great about our picks. We'll announce to the world which games we're playing, and then you two are going to be stuck with the other 2. But
you did
it's going to be a fun weekend.
Job of that last week. I'm sorry.
Awful. Horrible.
Yeah. Like not even like the picking of games. I thought you did a terrible job.
Yeah, everything across the board was awful. I mean, there's no other way of describing it. Now,
hey, we're going to be like the Leafs, all of us combined. They want entertainment. They're going to get it this weekend.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. We're bringing the heat, man. And that's that game on Sunday night. Like, I don't want to bypass the 2 games tomorrow, which will be good games. I think Rams-Eagles should be a really good game. But Buffalo-Baltimore just sets up to be like such a monumental, I remember that game. You know, like it would be just disappointing, I guess, if it was a blowout. I want to see something crazy like a tie game in the 4th quarter, and let's just see who's got it, man. Let's see who's got it. Allen,
Unfortunately
Lamar.
for Bills fans, I'm hearing – this is just from guys at the gym, like just sports people talking. A lot of people think Baltimore's going to blow them out.
I know. I've heard that.
Have you heard kind of got that vibe?
I don't have that vibe. I don't believe in that. I think Buffalo's going to win this game. I have been bullish on them this week. I think they're tougher than Baltimore. I think home field advantage is big, and I have more faith that Josh Allen's going to show up and play than I do that Lamar will show up and play well. Like, I still need to see more out of Lamar Jackson.
You know who's scary, though? That Henry dude.
Terrifying, Derrick Henry.
That guy can...
Terrifying to think of trying to tackle that guy. But Zay Flowers, no guarantees he plays. Now, they won last week without him, but... Wow.
Weather's going to be a factor, too, in Buffalo, is it not?
It's cold. Lamar looks freezing when it's 70 degrees out in October.
He's always got
He wears his hoodie, and he wears like a toque in September. He is always looking cold. So I don't know what that means for him, how it's going to affect him. But that definitely is going to factor in, man. It's going to be dark. It's going to be nasty. The crowd's going to be going crazy. And it's just going to be a great weekend. So we've got that coming up at 6 p.m. And I'm sensing, and I'm not surprised by this, Leaf fans, you talk about your brain being in a blender and trying to get a read on what you want. Because famously, a couple of years ago, people were rooting for Florida to beat Boston, right? Game 7, and Florida got through, and the rest was history. Because we were talking about it earlier this hour, that it is a real possibility the Leafs could play any of Montreal, Columbus, Ottawa, Boston in the first round, right? Like, those are 4 teams legitimately in the hunt for the 2 wildcard spots.
Yes.
And they have history against all 4 of them, clearly. Positive against Ottawa in the playoffs, but not so much against Montreal. They lost to Columbus in 20, and we know their history against Boston. Yet, you'd want to play those teams more, I think. But I'm getting tweets, again, not an exact science, from people who are like, I'd rather the Leafs played Florida than play Montreal, because you're so fearful that if they're going to lose, you can't lose to Montreal. You can't lose to Ottawa, which is such a warped mentality, such a loser's mentality.
Dude, I get to a point where I'm like, it's going to be a war zone no matter what.
Yeah.
And I've already given into the idea that whoever they play, if they play the Columbus Blue Jackets, it's not going to be a cakewalk.
No.
It's not going to be the situation everywhere. It's like, okay, you've got this. So we've already seen that. And Johnny mentioned it. The play-in series, you get the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they lost it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've already given in to the idea that something's going to be easy in the first round because it simply just won't be. And then you're going to get another war in the second, like an absolute war. Probably the Florida Panthers.
Probably Florida. Like, is Florida, like Washington won again last night, Noodles, you were there watching it. You know, Ovi scores in overtime, like, unbelievable scene.
That Washington team's good, man.
But can they win a Stanley Cup? Like, do you see Washington as a cup winner? Is that who they are?
You know what? The one thing I noticed about them is their system, they're tight, and they're a massive team. Like, massive. Every guy on that team seemed like they were 6'3" or more. Mm-hmm. Like, Mangiapane's not a big guy. Outside of that, it's PLD.
Michael's not a big guy.
But everybody else, like, just literally, like, monsters. Huge. Their team. Big, can skate, skilled, have emotion. They were getting involved. It was PLD. When he's on, man, that guy's a player, right? Like, he's just, I don't know. The goaltender was unbelievable.
Logan Thompson.
Logan Thompson had his 20th win last night. He's 20 wins, 2 losses, and 3 OTLs. Like, he's had an unbelievable season.
He's not going to win it, but he'll be up for the Norris.
Well, the Vezina, yeah.
Yep.
Like
or the Vezina, sorry.
Yeah, no, I knew what you meant. He's been awesome. Like, they've got goaltending because Charlie Lindgren's there too. They've got everything.
It just feels too quick, I guess. Which I don't even think. Like, I understand why that's kind of it's a shallow evaluation. I understand that, but they're likely, the way things are going, they're going to win. They're going to be the top seed team in the East. Like, that's where they're at. So, when was the last time you had a team that was number one in a conference and they weren't getting Stanley Cup love? But, like, I'd have to look on FanDuel where they're ranked.
That team, Hayes. Like, they're that team that might finish. They might win the President's Trophy and they won't get Cup love.
Exactly.
Because everyone's just focused on Ovi's goals. But, like, they had an unbelievable offseason. Like, they added Pierre-Luc Dubois. Mm-hmm. They added
Chychrun's been great for him.
But Jensen's been great. Like, sometimes trades work out for both sides. Jensen's been great. Mangiapane plays on their fourth line. They added that Brandon Duhaime on the fourth line. He's a big, strong.
Didn't they add the goalie in the offseason?
They added Logan Thompson in the offseason. Like, they've added some. Matt Roy is another defenseman that flew under the radar. He was on the top of good signing. Like, so we looked at the list of players that they added in the offseason. Every one of them has been an impact player for them in their own way for that team.
Yes.
And then you add that to, Ovi looks 39 sometimes, but they deploy him. They play him like he is 39. He's not, he doesn't step unless it's a power play. He's out there 2 minutes. Outside of that, they really shield him. He gets his shit. Tom Wilson is an absolute animal. Like, he was flying around last night. Unbelievable.
Well, listen, FanDuel's got the Cup favorite odds. Edmonton is at 1 at plus 650, and Washington, I believe, is 11th at 21-1. So teams like LA are ahead of them. Tampa, Winnipeg, Toronto, Vegas, Colorado, Jersey, Dallas, Florida, Carolina, Edmonton. Those are all the teams that are ahead of them in terms of odds. And they're actually tied in odds with Minnesota. So, again, that's the odds. That's Cup predictions, but that's the number one seed in the East. And FanDuel, and they're not alone, have 10 or 11 teams who they think have a better chance of winning the Cup. And I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I can see where they're going with that. Luke Wilson, Dear Hazy Visto to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, don't forget TSN 1050 wants you to be our unofficial correspondent at the grittiest golf event of the year. To enter, you got to download the iHeartRadio app, create an account, listen to TSN 1050 for at least 15 minutes straight. Once you hit 15 minutes, follow the prompts to complete your entry. On Monday, first up, we'll be calling one listener with a trip for two to the Waste Management Open in Arizona. Full details at tsn1050.ca. We see a lot of TaylorMade clubs down there, man. That QI35 and a lot of people buzzing about where things are at, including yourself. I saw you take a couple of hacks today, looking pretty good at the performance lab out there.
The guy said, would you like to try the same shaft from the previous model? He put the QI35 head on it. I took one swing, 3 bells, 3 hunch, and I looked at him. I said, that thing's perfect. That's all you need to do. Get a fitting. You need one swing.
Yes. And that was what he did today, Noodles. Literally, the guy hit one. He's
Really?
like, perfect. I'll take that around the horn. They're like, are you sure? Would you like to take another swing? Well, he did take more swing. I saw him take
I did take more, but the first one where I put the thing down, I'm like, this thing looks so good.
You knew right away.
I just made it because sometimes in there you get crazy and you think you're in a long drive competition. I just set that thing down and took a real good swing, and it was $3, and I'm like, sold. Give me one of these things.
Best technology, the coolest place, the Performance Lab up there, just north of the city, I guess, right? Just off Highway 7 there, just north of the 407. So, yeah, shout out for having us in. We appreciate it, as always.
That's awesome.
Yeah, tailor-made clubs, man. They're rolling them. And we're tracking what's going on out there at the Amex. Your boy Charlie Hoffman is 16 under and in the lead in the clubhouse.
Wow. I haven't heard that name in a while.
He isn't.
Yes, he is.
With the bright silver bell-bottom dress pants, the white Under Armour thing, and a green golf shirt.
Yes, that's accurate. Charlie Hoffman is crushing it right now. And Nick Taylor's in the hunt, Justin Thomas, Jason Day in the hunt. So some big names,
That's
chasing
a good leaderboard for the weekend.
Yeah, really good leaderboard. All right, final hour for the week coming up. We've got Luke Wilson, Al's brother, Dear Hazy B. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.